Hi and welcome to Homo Ludens, the channel on history and board games. Good evening to those of you who are watching us live. Thanks for joining us tonight for Teach and Play of This War Without an Enemy, that you can see here with a bit of a glare, but it's just there, which is a block war game on the first English Civil War in the mid-17th century, opposing the Parliamentarian to the Royalists. This game was released last year by French publisher Nuts Publishing. Nuts is a publisher that I like quite a bit. You might see some other of their games behind me. And actually, we played last month, I think, 300 Hertz and C, which was a small CDG about the Greek and Persian opposition in the ancient era. But for tonight's session, so we're going to play this game. So it's a block war game that shares a lot of similarities with some of the games from Columbia Games and the ABC system, but a bit more complex. And I decided to invite none other than the actual designer of the game, and I'm very happy to have with us Scott Moore. Hi, Scott.
Good evening, Fred.
Thanks for joining us tonight during this show, and thanks for taking the time to talk to us about your game. So that's really cool. And did I miss anything in the presentation?
No.
No, you think I go? Good, but yeah. So I'm pretty excited about playing this game with you. So the idea is to give a bit of a teach and play, but just for those of you who are watching live, and also for those of you who are going to be watching after the show, I will put some time code in the description. And the teach and play itself, it won't be like full teach and play like we might have done for some other games where we give all of the rules before starting. This game is a bit heavier than that, and I think it would be more interesting if maybe Scott gives us an overview of the game flow, and then we'll actually explain what we do and explain some of the concepts as we stumble upon them while we're playing, if that makes more sense. Cool. What do you think? Sounds good to you? You have no choice, so you know. So that's probably for the best. So the maybe before we start and have a look at the game, maybe just a quick like a few things about you and this specific project. I was wondering, when did you start actually designing this game, and also know a bit more about you specifically. Is it your first design? And we'll talk about the future after, I guess.
Sure. Well, I've been playing board games on and off since I was a teenager back in the 80s here in England. And the first game I designed was actually a retheme of Talisman with an Asterix theme. So a friend and I handmade the game by sort of tracing some of the illustrations from the comic books. And when I got back into Eurogames and wargames about 20 years ago, of course, I started designing games. So I've been designing games for quite a while, but this is my first published design. And I started it in 2012. And it was specifically a reaction to Columbia's interest in the game on this topic. So they announced a number of topics they were interested in future games being designed on. And I already knew Columbia. I liked their games. I knew the war very well. So I offered to design the game for them. So I designed a prototype, sent it to Columbia. And that was really the start of a very long process.
And what year was that?
Sorry?
What year was that?
Well, that was 2012. So
yeah.
I approached Columbia first and asked them if they're interested. When they said yes, I started the prototype, and it took about 3 months to get the first prototype working fairly well. And then I had some further communication with Columbia, but things went quiet for quite a long time. And after a few years, I decided that I would look for another publisher. And a friend of mine, a French friend, recommended Nuts as one of the companies I submitted the design to, and they were very enthusiastic, particularly about the topic of the game. So they agreed fairly quickly to publish it.
That's pretty cool. But yeah, and there was a Kickstarter campaign in I think it was in late 2019 that was quite successful.
Yeah,
and then it was published in late 2020, I think. Which
that's
means,
right.
and that's maybe something we should note, which means that it could be a potential nominee for the Charles Roberts Award this year. So just saying it, putting it out there. If someone who's watching hasn't filled his ballot for the Charles S. Roberts Award, you can add for with an enemy to your ballot. So that's maybe something to keep in mind. But wait a minute. What I'll do is I'll probably add to the stream so people can actually see the game. So we're going to be playing on Vassal. Hey, Alan, that just joined us. Hi, everyone. By the way, I see that Ufgar is here, David and Eddie. So this is the Vassal module, and as you can see already, the graphic design is quite amazing, and I think that's one of the thing that is pretty well known about the game is how beautiful it is. And I was
the artist and graphic designer, he did really everything, was Nicolas Roblin, who's French. Actually lives, I believe he lives, well, he certainly lives in France. He may live in Brittany, where Nuts Publishing is based.
Which is France, just to be clear. Brittany is. Some people have doubts, but I just want to clarify to everyone. Also living in Brittany, it is France. Yes.
But he did a great job. It was I did a lot of preparation work, but he did a lot of extra research on the illustrations from the period, and so you can't see it right here, but the card art is contemporary illustrations from the mid-17th century. And a lot of the other design features are taken from that period. So on the back of the cards, for example, some of the designs there are 17th century.
Yeah, I'm showing some of the cards on the stream right now, just to show a bit how the deck looks like. And here is actually the card back for the Parliamentarian that I have access here, and you have a few cards. That I'm showing around the stream. It's really beautiful. And you were telling me the other time that this is all so art from the era, but that was reworked to actually be integrated as illustrations, right?
Yeah, I think all of the coloring was done by Nicolas. Yeah. So almost all of these illustrations were black and white. I mean, any illustrations from the period are going to be black and white because they were printed in black ink using the woodblock printing. Some of them would have been colored in later, but it's pretty rare to find illustrations from that period which are colored.
And actually, maybe one question from the stream, and I think that's might be something that you like. I guess Nuts might get asked quite a bit at this moment. Is a question from Eddie asking if you knew when this game would be available in the US. And I know that shipping and stock management has been really tough and challenging for a lot of publishers, especially the smaller ones like Nuts recently. But I don't know if you have an update on that.
Well, the game is available directly from Nuts. Of course, you have to pay the shipping costs there. In terms of distribution, it's been available in the EU since September, October last year. It's currently not available in the UK, but it will be back here very soon. So it's just going through the distribution channels now. For the USA, there isn't currently a distribution deal in place covering the game. So we just don't know at the moment when it might be available in the US or in North America as a whole. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to get wargames distributed in the US from European publishers.
Yeah, it's a bit. It sounds a bit tough, at least. But anyway, you can play Dematerialize or watch us play while you wait. We're really sorry about that, but maybe let's. I guess we can probably give a bit of an overview. So for the people who don't know, who don't know what the game looks like in real life and haven't played any block games. Just maybe giving for me a clarification on what you guys are actually seeing right now on the screen. So what you can see is actually me. What I'm saying is different from what Scott is seeing, because each of those squares here are units, and they are physically blocks, which means that in the physical game, those images would be facing me, and Scott would only see the back of the block, so he wouldn't see what each block is. So that's quite an important aspect. So you understand, like, and those blue blocks that you see are actually Scott's units. I don't know what they are. I have pretty much an idea what they are, but I don't know exactly what they are. So that's basically so you have an understanding of what we're doing. And maybe I'll let you now speak, Scott, and explain a bit an overview of how the game flows, and then we'll probably draw some cards and start planning and playing and explaining what we're doing, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. So as Fred mentioned earlier, it's a block game based on the Columbia card-driven system. The first game in that series was Hammer of the Scots, and there have been many other games such as Crusader Rex or Richard III. So the core system is the same. It uses blocks. Each block has strength points, which is shown on these blocks by little circles at the top. So if I'll just show one of the blocks. So if you can see this block here has 3 dots at the top, showing it currently has 3 strength.
I'm going to zoom in to make it super visible. Yeah.
Whenever blocks take a hit, the strength is reduced, and you rotate the block physically in the physical game, like so. So that's now down to 2 strength. The blocks all have a value. Top right is their to hit value. We'll talk about that more when we come to a battle. There are 3 types of blocks. So this block here is a cavalry block shown by the horse's head. There's also infantry and artillery. The map's split into areas. The areas have different borders. So you can see open borders are shown by the dotted lines, such as this one here. We have river borders shown in blue, and mountain borders in a continuous white line. There are a number of cities on the map. There are different sizes of cities. Some are fortified, like York, for example, here in the north, which this fortification is shown by the sort of blue fortifications around the outside. Other cities are not fortified. So if you look a little bit to the west, Manchester there is an unfortified city. The cities with colours are victory cities, so that's what we'll be focusing on during the game. So York in blue, that means it's sympathetic to the Royalists, so that starts the game as a Royalist city. Whereas if you look a bit further to the south, Cambridge in orange is a Parliamentarian city. Now the scenario we're going to play, the early war scenario, lasts 6 turns. So if you look at the top right corner of the map, if you could scroll up. So we're starting in 1642, which was the beginning of the war. In that year, we only have 2 turns. So we start on turn 5, and then we have a turn 6. Then we'll move on to 1643, and we'll have 6 turns. And the last turn of 1643 will be a winter turn.
Oh, so that means, I got that wrong then. The last turn of 1642 is not a winter turn?
No, so 1642 is an exception because it was the start of
2 full turns.
Yeah. It was the start of the war. The sides were still fairly active during the winter. Now, the way a turn works is, well, at the beginning of a year, we draw 6 cards. In 1642, because it's a very short year with only 2 turns, we'll then discard 4 of those cards, so we'll keep 2 in our hands. And each round, so in round 5, or turn 5, we'll each choose a card, play it. In the physical game, it will be face down beside the map, and then we'll reveal the cards at the same time. And the first thing we'll do is check the values on the card. So whichever player plays the highest value card will be player 1 for that turn, for all the phases during the turn. The other player will be player 2. Some of the cards also have events. We can discuss those as we play them. The next phase is the operations phase. During that, we'll be spending the points on the cards. So each card has a value from 2 to 4. We'll be spending those on moving blocks, by land, possibly by sea, and we can also reinforce blocks, give them extra strength. So first, player 1 will spend their points, then player 2 will do the same. In any area where we have blocks of both sides, in the next phase of the the round, the tactical phase will move on to combat. So we'll have one or more battles, field battles. Also, if there are any blocks in an area with an enemy town, a fortified town, then there can be storming. So that's another type of battle. Finally, after resolving the battles, we have a supply phase. So check supply and victory conditions. Now, in this scenario, the game starts. If we look at the bottom of the map, we have the victory point indicator, which is a relative scale. So here in the center, we have 0. Currently, the score is on 1 victory point for the Parliamentarian side. Every time a player captures a victory city, we'll move the marker 1 towards their side. So if the Parliamentarians capture a city, we'll move that 1 to the right. If the Royalists capture a city, 1 to the left. London is worth 2 points, and that's a Parliamentarian city at the start of the game. So if the Royalists capture that, they'll gain 2 points. Now, in this scenario, the aim for the Royalists is to gain 2 victory points, so to move the marker onto the 1 position on their side. If they fail to do that, so if the marker is still on 0 or on the Parliamentarian side, then the Parliamentarian player wins the scenario. At any point from 1643 onwards, if a player reaches 3 or more victory points, then that's an instant victory at the end of the turn. So the Parliamentarian player could potentially win the scenario by capturing 2 cities. So they've got 3 victory points, and then they would win at the end of a turn.
Oh, yeah, because there is only 1 city of value 2, which would be London. Yeah.
London, yeah. Okay. All the rest of the cities are worth just 1 point.
Yeah.
One of the ways for the Parliamentarian player to gain victory points is to capture the king. This will give the player 2 victory points. So it's certainly possible, and I've seen it in some games, for the Parliamentarian player to capture the king very early in the game and win a victory.
Good. So yeah, just to give a bit of a dynamic, so it should be a quite short game because as Scott said, we're going to have 2 card plays for the first year, 1642. Then we'll have a full year for 1643. So 5 regular turns and 1 winter turn where we want to have a fight. So it should be quite quick, but give you quite a good overview of how the game plays. I haven't played it a lot, and I'm playing against the designer. So it's just to fair warning, I should get pretty aggressively trashed. So yeah, I hope that you'll enjoy that. But that's nice, and yeah, and clearly the Royalists are in the offensive because they have this small advantage here of 1 VP. But I don't know. I think I'm gonna do great, Scott. I think I'm gonna do great. Probably should
actually the Parliamentarians have the 1 VP advantage, but the Royalist advantage at the beginning is they have better quality troops. And they have slightly more cavalry. So really, as the Royalist player, I've got to be aggressive. I've got to take cities. I could take London or any 2 other cities. But if if I play poorly and I lose the king, then it will be an easy victory for you.
Yeah, if you lose the king before taking a city, it's an instant win. So that would be awesome. But I don't think you'll put yourself in a situation where I can take the king. Or maybe, who knows?
Well,
so yeah, but basically just, so I guess that what we do is we draw 6 cards. So I just drew 6 cards already. So yeah, I'm showing my hand, but you don't watch it. So basically what we're going to do now is select 2 cards and discard the 4 others because we're actually only playing 2 rounds within that year. And just for the people watching, so this is my hand. On the top left, you see the ops. Oh, it's not ops value; it's AP value. Sorry, AP value of the cards. But contrary to, I would say, CDGs that most people know, like Twilight Struggle, stuff like this, is like it's not a choice between the event and the ops. It's like the card has an ops value, and this is the number of action points that you have. and the event will trigger. And when the event will trigger is going to be indicated on the top left. So this letter that you see here. So if it's a T, it's going to be in the tactical phase. If it's an O, it's going to be in the operational phase. And if it's an S, it's going to be in the strategy phase. So one of those three phases that Scott was mentioning before. I didn't say anything stupid, right? No, that was...
No, it's all correct.
All correct. So now I need to discard 4 cards. And...
So I've already discarded my 4 cards. And generally what players will do is they'll choose cards with the highest value, so the 4 value cards. But there are some events which are very useful at this early stage of the war.
Yeah, and the thing that I was about to say, so I'm going to think out loud and explain a bit my thought process, and then you can probably give some strategic advice and I think that could also be interesting. So my thinking was at this stage, looking at my hand, is that I wanted to keep a 4 AP value card, potentially for the last round of the year to be able to react to what you're going to do. Because I'm thinking I'm more going to be in a defensive position and I want a high value AP card for the last round of the year. But then I'm looking in my hand and I see that I have the fortification of London. And the thing with London is that my walls are constantly breached because the fortifications are not finished in the early game. And I think that London might be the city that you're going for a win. So I'm thinking if I play fortification of London, I'm preparing myself for potentially what you're going to try to do in the upcoming turn. So I was thinking straight fortification of London and then potentially keeping something for myself. Would that be a good way of looking at it, do you think?
Yeah, that certainly is a useful event early on. One other thing to consider is if we both play the same value card, so say a value 4, for example, in the first 2 years of the war, the Royalist player decides then who is player 1 and who is player 2. So that gives you quite an advantage, even if we both play the same value card. And at this stage, it's natural to play a high value card. One other thing to consider for the second turn. So the second turn is the last turn of the year, after which we have recruitment. And for the recruitment, it is better to spread out. The more spread out you are during the winter, the more effectively you can recruit. So a common tactic is to play to try and
value card
second in the final round of the year.
Okay, good. But then, yeah, I'll make my card selection based on those useful inputs. So I might or might not do what I said I would do, but yeah. So there is at least a little bit of fog of war because I know that basically looking at the stream, you could see everything that I have. But I hope that you'll be a gentleman about that. So I'm going to return this to deck. I'm going to return this to the deck, return this to the deck. And of course, if in the chat you have comments, questions, or suggestions for the Parliamentarian, because I don't think that Scott will need a lot of suggestions. So let me know what you think. I'm interested in having your strategic decision, and we can potentially, like, you could be my committee, like my trusted generals, giving me advice, so I can make decisions on the battlefield. So,
strangely enough, the Parliamentarians did have a committee which tried to dictate the course of the war. It often wasn't very effective.
And I'm pretty sure that the people in the chat would not be very effective. So I think it's very historical in that sense. So you are officially my committee. You guys in the chat, we need you, guys and girls. Actually, sorry for that. But, yeah. So I'm waiting for your advice. Okay, but I have selected my.
Yeah, I've already chosen my cards. So we have in the Vassal module, we have a played cards area where we can both place our cards face down so the other player cannot yet see them.
Where is that?
So it's the button with the 2 cards side by side.
The button with the 2 cards side by side.
Just to the left of the red block.
I'm going to put it here.
So you can see I've already placed my card there.
And I guess I can reveal it.
Yep. So So I'll reveal my card. So we've both played a value 4 card. What a surprise.
And in that case, what is breaking the tie?
So in that case, the Royalist player, which is me, decides who goes first. So I'm going to let you go first, so that I can react to your move.
You fell into my trap, Scott. You fell into my trap. First mistake, letting me go first. Okay, I have no idea what I should do. So I'm looking in the chat. Do we have... Okay, so Ofgar is sending a pigeon. I haven't received anything yet, so I hope to get advice soon. And I have Eddie being pretty aggressively against me, but he's part of my committee, so that's not going to help a lot. I don't know what we're going to do. So I have 4 action points. Maybe it's a good time for me to explain what I can do with action points. So I can actually do 2 kind of move actions. I can either do a classical move, and I will choose an area and a stack. And then from that point of origin, I can spread the blocks so they can all move. So that would be 1 move action, 1 origin space. They can move up to 2 spaces. The only constraint that I have is the number of blocks that can cross a border. So if it's an open one, it's completely free. If it's a river, it's 4, and if it's a mountain, it's 2. Right?
It's important to note that the border restrictions only apply if you're entering an area with enemy blocks. So in other words, if you're attacking.
Yeah.
If you're moving into an empty area or friendly area, there's no restriction at all on the number of blocks which can cross the border. So for example, if your main army was to move north from Gloucester into this area here, Worcestershire, there's a river in the way, so you could only move 4 of your blocks across that particular river border.
Yeah, but and just for people to understand what those kind of constraints mean is that I can actually be sneaky because I'm paying an action point per origin, so I could have part of that stock going from here to here, and then from here to here. So it would be a 2-step move, which means that I could have 4 coming from that approach and 4 coming from that approach, so you can move across. And there's this big blue stack there. So the thing is, I know that Scott cannot come through through that region to go into Bristol, which is fine. I have a unit that is protecting Plymouth, so that's also fine. The thing is that if you move there, I will have to take the fight, because if I decide to hide myself in the city, you can move to Bristol. So
that's right, yeah.
But I think I can do fine here. And yes, one thing that I was saying, so the AP. So the first thing is the move. The second thing is muster. And muster, I actually choose an area, and it has to be empty or friendly, right?
It has to be a friendly area. So that means either an area with your own blocks or an area with your icon.
With one of those icons for the parliamentary. So it has to be a friendly area. And I would choose that area, and I can move any troop into that area that has the reach of 2. So that's my second action, muster. And then I have a third action, which would be reinforcing. So I could actually build a step back. But like here, all my troops are at full strength. That means that I could also use one of those points to bring one of those units from my reserve. And as you can see, some units, most of the units that you see here have a small color and icon and letter on the bottom right. And that refers to the region, therefore. So green N would be the north, M would be the Midlands, W, Wales, etc., etc. And regional blocks, if I want to make them change region, they actually need a leader with them to make them go on a campaign outside of their home region, you could say. So basically, that's the thing. I have 4 AP. I'm wondering if we should reinforce. I'm looking at the cities that...
Just one piece of advice. So at the start of the game, so in the very first turn, there is a gentleman's agreement in Yorkshire, in the north of the country, which means that no blocks can enter the 3 areas which form that county. So those are marked with a little green icon with the letter N. So I can't invade Yorkshire from Northumberland, for example, where I have 3 blocks next to Newcastle. So those cannot enter the area to the south in the very first turn. So that gives you an opportunity to redeploy your 2 blocks to Hull or York, which are the 2 victory cities in Yorkshire.
Yeah, but actually with one move I could take both of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would give me 1 point straight if I move 1 unit into York and 1 to defend Hull.
Yeah, so York's a royalist city, so if you, as it's empty, you can just move a block into the area and you would capture the city and gain a victory point.
Yeah, I think I will do that. The thing is that I think I would keep the stronger units for Hull, and I'm gonna say why. And I think that I want to keep Hull more secured because it's a port city and it's adjacent to the German Ocean, and I think I probably want to keep Hull longer than York. So with 1 AP, I'm gonna activate that stack. Mm-hmm. And that means with that movement, I'm going to have 1 that is going to come here and 1 that is going to move here. That means that because I just captured York, I just scored 1 VP, so it's going just here. So that's my first action point.
So all's going very well for the Parliamentarians at the moment.
Second action point. I'm a bit worried for Cambridge. I'm a bit worried, not too much for London, because you would have to go through Oxford to get there, so that's okay. I'm really worried about that big stack, but let's look at what you can do. If you move in Derbyshire, you will have to stop because you'll get there. If you move down south in the Midlands, your second move would be towards the east of the country, and then that would open you up to the eastern region. But that's only 1-2 steps, so actually I would have time to react for that. The problem is that I'm probably going to be last on the next turn, so I might need to protect Cambridge right now. And I think I'm going to play I don't know. I think I'm going to play it secure, and I'm going to play all attrition warfare on you. So I'm going to activate that big stack. And I'm going to send some units left and right. Okay, have those cannons. Cannons are pretty useless. Instead, during sieges, they're actually quite powerful.
Yeah, they're of a limited use during a field battle, but can be really important in sieges.
Yeah. Oh, and Cambridge is actually an undefended city, so if you move into Cambridge, we'll have to do a big fight there. And while I'm thinking, maybe you can answer Hetwell's questions here, and I will try to figure out what I want to do.
So, no, in this game, it's scripted to the extent that the Scots, the Covenanters, come in on the side of the Parliamentarians. Historically, potentially the king could have come to an agreement and they would have joined the Royalist side. But what I decided in the game was, just for game balance, the Scots joined the Parliamentarians and the Irish joined the Royalists. That also happened historically. So the king signed an agreement with the Irish rebels who are fighting the English army in Ireland. And 3 blocks representing that army will be available to the Royalist player late in 1643. Then the Scots, represented by 5 blocks, will appear in Scotland at the beginning of 1644. There isn't a lot of politics or diplomacy in the game, really. It's there's economics to the extent that you're capturing cities. There are some events on the cards which represent economic or political factors. Perhaps the most interesting are 2 cards which enable the Royalist player to capture cities through traitors. So historically, there was a plot to betray Hull, which was a parliamentarian city, to the Royalists. So the governor of Hull himself was the traitor, but the plot was discovered, and eventually he and his son were hanged. There was also a plot in Plymouth, which was discovered by a servant of the governor and reported to the parliamentarian authorities. So that was in history, that was foiled. But in this game, those plots can succeed.
Oh, wait a minute, I cheated already. I realized that I moved a unit from the Midlands to the south in Bristol, but they didn't have a leader with them, so they were not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Because as I said, I need a leader to change region for, those units are from the east, so they could eventually move within that east region on their own, but moving region to region like this, they wouldn't be able to do that.
So the main parliamentarian army has only one leader. That's the overall leader of the parliamentarians. So they're quite constrained. It's very difficult for them to split up that army. You do have two southern blocks which can move into the south, so they're happy to go home.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to send one of those here, and they're going to go, which makes more sense, and they're going to go here, and that is now a legitimate move. And that means that I can do the move that I wanted to do originally here. So that's my 2 move. So I secured Bristol. I secured more or less Oxford. And actually, you know what? I probably don't need to go to... Oh, yeah, but if I don't go to Cambridge... Actually, the East unit is going to go to Cambridge just to prevent your lonely unit to just take it. And my leader is just going to go here, actually. It's going to stop in London. So that's my second move. So that was a move from Gloucester here. So reinforced Bristol, reinforced Oxford, sent a unit in Cambridge, and then I have my, I have my troops here. So that's and now I have 2 APs, and I'm thinking with those 2 APs, I'm gonna prepare for the future, and I'm gonna build some units. So this is my reserve pool that I have here on the right. I don't think I need anything in the south yet, because I could just go into Plymouth and defend myself there. We'll go for a long siege, and Bristol has some resources there. So I think I'm fine. I might strengthen my east units. So I'm gonna take those guys here, and it's 1 AP to bring at one step, and then 1 AP to increase it, right?
That's right. Yeah. So you can add you can bring it on at 1 strength and then add a strength, or more than 1 strength extra. Each strength will cost a point.
Yeah, okay, so that means that I'm going to spend those 2 AP to place that eastern unit here in the right region. And I'm going to put the leader on top. And that's my 4 APs.
Okay. So you split up your main army, but you still have a pretty big army in London. So in the north, I can't yet enter Yorkshire. There's still a treaty of neutrality there, so I won't activate any units in the north. So I'll spend, of my 4 APs, I'll spend the first on recruiting in the south. So I'm going to recruit a unit in the south at 1 strength. Fred doesn't know what sort of unit it is yet. So that's 1 point, and I think with the second point, I'll add a strength to that unit. My third point, I will recruit a unit in the Midlands. So I'm going to recruit a unit in the Midlands. So it has to go into a friendly area, an area where I already have a unit. I'm recruiting that at 1 strength. And then with my final move,
I think we can already see the lack of ambition of the Royalist faction. Just yeah.
Lack of ambition.
Yeah, complete lack of ambition. It's like, oh, I'm gonna recruit some guys and everything. No. Yeah, like you're 3 points away from victory. You don't really have time for all this.
So my final point, I'm going to move the King's army
Okay.
south into Gloucestershire.
And falling into my trap. Good. Perfect. Perfect. So basically, for everyone to know, so that's a big stack, but in that stack there is the king, and the king is 2 VPs. So that's that could be quite interesting. I have a question for you. If I get to 3 VPs, is it instant victory or at the end of the turn?
It's at the end of the turn, but there
Okay.
is no victory check in 1642.
Okay, yeah.
So it's only at the end of the first turn of 1643 that you would be able to claim victory, even at 3 victory points.
Good. And I'm asking this for the people in the chat because when I reach one of those points here, that would be normally an instant victory, and I'm a one away from it. So I'm thinking, well, is there an opportunity for me to sneak something? But I guess that's probably unrealistic. Good. So that was our first turn. So we would go to the second and last turn of 1642.
Yeah, so normally after the operations phase, we'll go to the tactical phase, which is where the battles take place. But it's been a very peaceful start to the war, so there are no battles. And then in the supply phase, we check supply. Now, each area can supply normally 4 blocks, but if there's a city there, that can supply between 1 and 4 additional infantry blocks, depending on the size of the city. And artillery doesn't need supply, so the King's main army sitting in Gloucester is 7 blocks, but 2 of those are artillery. So there are only 5 infantry and cavalry blocks, and there's a city in Gloucester which can supply the 5th block.
Yeah, and I'm going to move the stack just for you. Oh no, can you move the stack so they can see the city under? Yeah, it's just here. Good. Okay, so and on my side, it's also all good. In the mountains, you supply less units, though, right?
Yes, so mountainous areas like Central Wales or Northwest Wales, only 3 units can be supplied, and a maximum of 1 cavalry unit.
Yeah.
In other areas, the maximum cavalry is 2. So cavalry are more limited in terms of supplies.
So that means we're good, and now we can actually go into turn 6 of 1642. And as we did before, so I'm going to discard my card, and we're going to each play a card in the played card area, and you guys know what I'm going to play. And that shouldn't be a big surprise for Scott. I think I'm going to reveal it now.
It's not a big surprise. In any case, even if you played a value 4 card, I could have chosen to go first.
First, anyway, yeah.
So I will be going first, which is what I'd planned for. So before I forget, let's be a little bit more aggressive. So in the far north, I will activate the stack in Northumberland and Durham. A stack with 3 blocks. Now those blocks are going to move south into the North Riding, across the river border, so up to 4 blocks can cross that. I'm not leaving any behind in Newcastle because there aren't any parliamentarian blocks around. I don't need to defend the city at the moment. Now, at the point I enter North Riding, you can decide, or you must decide, whether your block is going to stay outside the city and meet me in a field battle, or whether it's going to withdraw into the city.
And I would withdraw into the city.
Mm-hmm. In that case, I have a choice. So a city of York, you can fit up to 2 blocks in that city. And I can either stay in that area and start a siege, or I can move further, for example, into the East Riding. Or I can leave some blocks in York and move others into the East Riding. So what I'm going to do is one block will move on into the East Riding, and the other two will stay in the North Riding. So again, when that block enters the East Riding, you decide if your block stays and fights or whether it withdraws into the city.
Yeah, and actually this time a fight could be valuable. It would be one-on-one. My unit is decent. And during the fighting, I could actually still, if I see that it doesn't go my way, retreat. And when I retreat, I could retreat into the city during the battle, right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking maybe a small escarmouche, as we would say, because it's one block against one block, could be worth it. I'm thinking. I'm actually curious what you'll have here, and I would be the defender, so I might have a slight advantage. You know what? Let's go for a small fight, a casual fight. That's good. So I'm going to bring the battle board.
Remember, the combats don't take place until we've both spent our.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, but now my block is. So I don't know how do I. Yeah, I'm going to put it on top of yours. Yeah. So we see that it's there. This one is in the city, so it's besieged. This one is there, so we remember. And I wouldn't be able to move that block because one block moving is pinning one block in that region. So if I had two, one of them could still go away, but now it's one-on-one, so I'm actually pinned in that region.
And what we do to show that the siege has begun in York, we place a block in the city. So this shows the siege has begun. It's lasted 0 turns so far, so it's a new siege.
Yeah, and that's the siege block here that we will rotate to indicate the number. I'm going to zoom in so you can actually see so that there is a 0, 1, 2, and 3 value. So the siege of York has started.
Okay, so given that you're trying to defend Hull more aggressively, for my second point, I'm going to activate Cumberland and Westmoreland, which is in the northwest, just to the west of Newcastle. I have one block there, so I'm going to move that first of all into the North Riding. Now the North Riding is now friendly for me because you've withdrawn into the city, so I can pass through happily into the East Riding to reinforce the battle. So as that's reinforcing, I'll put it on the border there. So in a battle that will enter, not at the beginning of the battle, it enter late in the second round as reinforcements. So I have another 2 points.
Still happy to have made you spend that point, so that's,
So in the far southwest, we have another regional army here. So this is led by Sir Ralph Hopton. I'm going to activate Cornwall and move those 2 blocks into Devon. I just put them on the border for now.
Yeah.
So again, you need to decide what you do with your block.
And I will go into Plymouth.
Okay, so these are going to actually stay in Devon and start a siege of Plymouth. So again, I place a siege block in the city. And then for my final point, I'm playing somewhat aggressively here. I've left Cheshire open. There are no blocks there. So all Fred has to do with the Parliamentarians is move a block in to capture it.
And that was the whole purpose of the teasing in the previous round. And it paid off. It paid off. Everything is a mental game. So that's good.
But, you know, in the true spirit of the Royalists, I'm going to abandon Cheshire for the moment. I can always recapture it.
Yeah, and it's not a fortified city, as we said earlier. So it's it's a city. If I go and take it with one block, I can be crushed quite easily.
And the king is actually going to move south into Somerset. Let's just put his army on the border. So The border between Gloucester and Somerset is open. So it's dotted line, it's open. I can move any number of blocks across it.
But you make the assumption that I'm not going to stop you here. And it's the right assumption. I will not. I will go into the city of Bristol and absolutely not try to intervene. Like, it's fine. You can just move around. That's okay.
Okay, so the King's army is now besieging Bristol. So we'll put a siege block in Bristol. So that's the end of my part of the operations phase. I've spent my 4 points.
Good. So that's 4 points. And what I think about what I'm going to do is my 2 points. I think you have, again, that question from Brian in the US, who's asking how to get the game in the US, which, Brian, just for context, I think it was David or Eddie that asked a bit earlier. I think more or less the same question, but you'd have the answer from Scott right now when I figure out what I'm going to do. So first of all,
yeah, so unfortunately, the game isn't being distributed yet in the US. If you could maybe send a kindly message to any distributors you know. So the game it's available directly from Nuts, but in France, but you'd have to pay postage for that, so it can be quite expensive. There are other games from Nuts Publishing, like 300, are distributed in the US. So it's certainly possible that some point in the future it will become available.
Okay, so let's have fun. With my first point, I'm going to activate that unit in Wales, completely on the west side, that is defending nothing. And they are going to do 1 and 2 and take Chester.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be 1 extra VP for us. Yes. 1, 2.
You can place the block in the middle of the area. So just by being in the area, it captures the city because it's an unfortified city, and in any case, there are no defending blocks.
You got by the it just had the snap point on there. Then I'm actually thinking this block that is in oh no, he couldn't move away, because I was thinking that block that is in Nottingham could go into Manchester and then prepare, but he still needs that leader to come in with him.
So somebody's commented that this feels like the historical opening moves of the war. It is to some extent, but historically the Parliamentarians actually met with the Royalists at a battle in the Midlands, Battle of Edge Hill, which wasn't a very decisive battle. So the Royalists continued on their way to London and were stopped by another Parliamentarian army there. So the main change has been that the King has decided to head to Bristol instead.
I'm wondering if I shouldn't prepare myself to go and meet you outside of Bristol. Just looking at what I could recruit in the south. And I think so. I had my first point to take Chester, and I think that with my second point, I'm going to leave this guy here. I'm going to move my army here. And 1 and 2. And place myself here and see what's up. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that, and I just placed this card here, fortification of London. So I'm gonna zoom in. So as you can see, it was the event happened during the operation. So that was my operation phase, or at the beginning of any operation phase.
So that takes place at the very beginning of the operation phase.
Okay.
If both players play cards with an O, then player 1 will play theirs first, then player 2. So it happens, technically before I took my actions.
Okay, so it means that if you had attacked London, it would already have been fortified.
That's right, yeah.
Good.
Just to answer a quick question in the chat from Alan. So he asked if I considered a traditional hex and counter approach. I did begin a hex and counter game many years ago, maybe 15 years ago, on the English Civil War. But this game, as I mentioned earlier, I designed it originally for Columbia. So it was designed specifically for the Columbia's card-driven block system. And there had previously been a game published by GMT and Happy King Charles, which is a card-driven, more of a classic card-driven game, point-to-point movements, more complex than this. And my idea was to design a slightly simpler game, which is quicker playing. But it has, some of the key aspects of that earlier game, Unhappy King Charles.
Good, but I think we're done with the operation phase, and now we can. So first resolve the battle, and then the sieges. So I guess we'll have the Battle of Hull first.
Yeah. So we can go to the battle mat.
Yeah, I'm going to bring it up. So this is the battle mat here. And yeah, so you're going to have, so my unit is going to come on that side. So you're on the side of the attacker. And then the second block that is there is going to arrive in reserve because it's it's a reinforcement.
Okay, so if you reveal your block to me.
Oh yeah, wait a minute.
My reserve stays hidden for the moment until it enters the battlefield.
And I'm going to
engaging infantry ourselves.
Yeah,
that's right. Okay, so we see that we both have an infantry block. So the first round of the battle, the first thing we would do is fire artillery if there were any. So we go from left to right.
Yeah, maybe to explain how the battle mat is working, you see that there are different areas, and each of those areas have a name. So here would be the artillery, and actually that gives the flow of what's going to happen during the battle. So first we do this, then we do this, then we do this, when we do this. So artillery, firing infantry, cavalry, engaging infantry.
Yeah, in fact, we should start, in the firing infantry area.
Oh.
So as Fred said, we move from left to right. So the battlefield isn't topographical as such. It's more of a player aid. And as there's no artillery, we move to firing infantry. And if both of us have firing infantry, the defender, which is Fred in this case, decides first what to do with the block. So infantry can either fire at reduced effectiveness or engage at full effectiveness, but that would be later in the round. So Fred's block has an effectiveness of 2, which means it's going to hit on 1s or 2s. If it fires, it will hit instead on 1s.
Yeah, and as a reminder, as Scott said earlier, the number of d6 that I'm going to roll is the number of pips that I have on the block. So here I'm at 4 strength, so we'll roll 4 die. But I think 4 on a 1 is probably unrealistic. So I'm not going to go with firing, and I'm going to go to engaging.
So my choice now is either I fire, in which case I would fire with a -1 of my effectiveness, so I'd hit on 1s and 2s, or I can engage, in which case I'd hit on 1s to 3s. But if I choose to engage, I'm going to roll my dice after Fred's Parliamentarian block. So I'm going to choose to fire the infantry.
And I'm going to move a bit. Yeah.
So as Fred said, the infantry is at 4 strength, so I'm going to roll 4 dice. And I'm looking for 1s and 2s, so I have 1, 2, so that's 1 hit.
Wait a minute, you have 2 2s. You have a 2, a 4, a 2, and a 6. So you actually give me 2 hits, so that's awful. So I'm going to reduce the strength twice. And now that means that I'm going to roll only 2 dice on the strength 2. So that's pretty bad. Okay. So I'm rolling 2 dice. Oh, I rolled 1, so that's 1 hit. And another 7. So I give you 1 hit.
1 hit. That's quite lucky.
No, it's not. It's smart planning. It didn't went at all. As I didn't expect you to do 2 hits. That's really bad, though. So that was the end of the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So now we go back to the sequence, and as you can see here, it's actually pretty neat player aid for the battle mat. You can see that on round 2 and round 3, I can actually order a general retreat here. And what will be the consequences of the general retreat?
So if you retreat, we still go through the round. So it's not an instantaneous retreat, but as the attacker, I would suffer -1 to my effectiveness for all my units. And as the defender, you would suffer -2. So in other words, in this circumstance, you wouldn't roll because your effectiveness would be 0. My units would roll, this particular unit would roll on with a 2 effectiveness instead of a 3.
Yeah. And I think I will order a retreat because, as I said earlier in the fight, because now there is actually another block that's going to come in.
So it's definitely it's a wise choice, but it may be too late for you.
It may be too late. Yeah, I think I should have ordered the general. Oh no, I couldn't on the round 1.
Can't order it in the first round. No. So I think it was very risky to fight in the field. You should perhaps have gone into the city.
It's a bit late for that. You don't have to. I think it's going to be fine. I think everyone in the chat is going to have their fingers crossed and everything's going to be okay. So I'm ordering a general retreat, an epic general retreat. And now the second phase is, so as you can see, step 2, the reserve enter battles. So that block that was there is going to be suddenly revealed. And it's another infantry. Okay.
Another infantry. Not quite as good as the other one. So this is first were elite troops or more experienced troops. These are good quality, but not so good. So again, with your block, you move it back to firing infantry. So each round you can decide whether to fire or engage.
And here I would roll at -1 because -1 for firing and -1 and -2 for retreating.
So in fact, doesn't really matter. You're at -2, so you have no chance to hit me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fire this time because you're not firing back. So I'll wait to engage. So I'm effectively running after you. So I'm at -1 because you're retreating. So the first block, it rolls 3 dice because it's now on 3 strength, and it needs 1s or 2s to hit.
Bordel à cul, mais c'est pas possible. you have 2 hits, 1 and 2. So you can see in the so for the people watching live, I think it might be a bit small, but you can see the result in the top layer. So you can see 3d6. And Scott rolled a 1, a 2, and a 6. So that's 2 hits, and I had 2 strength left. So actually that unit is. Would I remove it from the game, this one, or
no? So that unit goes back to the reinforcement, so it can be recruited again later.
Yeah, so I'm going to put it into my reserve. And where did it go? Oh, yeah, it's on the card. I'm going to put it in reserve here. It doesn't want to go in reserve? Yes, here it is. It's in reserve.
You can hide the block again, so I don't know. I won't know which blocks you're recruiting. So my blocks, I put them back in the area where the battle took place. I'm going to hide them. Now, after a battle, the victor has the option of what's called regroup. So that's moving to an adjacent empty or friendly area. Now, I've also captured Hull because it has no defenders at all. They foolishly chose to fight in the field rather than rely on the excellent defenses of that port city. So
sorry for being a bit courageous, Zach. And we actually take 1 victory point here. Yeah, going back to the
Okay, so I'm going to regroup with one of those blocks back into. That's going to move into the north, and the other one is going to stay to garrison Hull and prevent the local inhabitants from changing sides back to the Parliamentarians. Now, the block which is just regrouped, it can't take part in any siege combat in the area it's just moved into. That's why I've placed it on the border there.
And now, because you're player 1, you would decide in which order you want to do the sieges, and there is 3 of them. So there is York up north, Bristol in the middle, and Plymouth in the south.
Yeah. So for each city, let's choose York first of all. So we're still in the operations phase. First, the defender has the option to sally out of the city, and that would be resolved in a similar way to a normal battle. But the besieging forces, that's me, would be the defenders in that battle.
Yeah, I would different. I'm not going out. I thought about it, but I think I'm good. I think I'm good. I'll stay in York.
Okay, so now the besieging force has the option to storm the city. Storming the city is difficult because the defender gets the benefit of the fortifications, which we can explain when it happens, but I'm not going to storm. I'm just going to sit outside and starve you out, or perhaps you'll choose to surrender. So we'll move on to Plymouth in the south. Again, the Parliamentarian defenders have the choice of sallying out.
And I will not.
Yeah, it would be unwise because the benefit of sallying is if you think the besiegers are very weak. In this case, I've got 2 blocks, so I'm likely to be strong. Similarly, I'm not going to storm because I've only got a 2-to-1 advantage in blocks. It might not be enough for storming a city. Now, Bristol, I'm hoping the defenders will sally out here.
They're not. Yeah.
Okay, so before I decide if I want to storm, I get to bombard the walls with my artillery. So I'm just going to show you what artillery I have here. So that's an artillery block with 3 strength, and I have another artillery block also with 3 strength. So to resolve a bombard, there's a table on the player aid.
Yeah, I'm trying to show it. Yes, here it is.
Yeah, so if you look on that table, on the left-hand side, you have the artillery strength. So that's a number of pips on the blocks combined. So I have 2 blocks, each 3 pips, which is 6 strength in total. So I'm looking at the second row. I roll a die, so I need a 5 or 6 to successfully breach the walls. I'll roll a single die, and that is a 1, so that wasn't successful. So after having failed to breach the walls, I can still storm if I so choose. Now, as the Parliamentarian army is approaching, might be an idea to try to storm the city. So, and also for the purposes of teaching the game, let's have a storm. So with a storm, there is a limit to how many blocks can take part in each round. So with Bristol, there's a number just in the bottom left, it's 4. So 4 blocks can take part. Up to 2 blocks can be in the city, so it's fully garrisoned.
Isn't it in the bottom right?
Bottom right, yes. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
So we can use the battle mat again for storming. So I can choose which 4 blocks I'm going to use. So we're going to use... so I am the attacker.
So just as a reminder, because I said at the beginning of the stream that people in the stream would be my war committee, and I feel like there is not a strong support for the Parliamentarian faction in the stream. So thank you everyone for support. You do realize that I'm getting crushed here. I just I don't need people to cheer when I die on top of me being crushed. Not cool. Awful behavior. So you're storming, and I will have to place my cubes here. So this one is going to go here, and this one is going to go here.
Do you have... Let's reveal the blocks.
And reveal. And
okay, so you've got some artillery. That's interesting. So I have the king himself and his nephew, Prince Rupert. Okay, so we resolve like a normal battle, but there's some modifications. So the artillery, it's quite unusual to find so much artillery defending a city. They get to fire first. Now, normally in a battle, the artillery can choose whether to target infantry or cavalry. In a storming, all the blocks storming are counted as infantry. So you will roll the dice and any hits are applied to the strongest unit at that point.
So that would be those 4 pips unit that you have here.
Yes, it would. So if I've got more than one unit of the same strength, I would choose which one would take the hit.
So I roll 4 dice, and I hit on a 1 or a 2 with that artillery. Do I have a bonus when you're storming?
You have a bonus for your infantry. So your infantry increases its effectiveness by 1. So they would hit on 1s, 2s, or 3s if they're engaging or firing on 1s or 2s. The other bonus for you as the defender is that I need to cause 2 hits for you to lose 1 strength.
Okay, so first I would roll 4 dice for my
See, there's some support for the parliamentarians there.
Yeah, and I support that. Decapitating king, I think, is a part of my cultural heritage. So I think I support this. And it's 1 hit with my artillery. Oh, and just the information: artillery only rolls on round 1 of a battle. And I think it's still the same with storm.
Same for stormings. Yeah. Okay, so I take 1 loss. I'm going to choose the poorer quality units. They were the first up. Place there just to take the damage from the grape shot. Okay, so now your infantry block, you can fire, and you have a +1 on your effectiveness as you're defending behind fortifications. So you would -1 for firing, so you'd hit on 1s or 2s. Or you can wait to engage, in which case you'll hit on 1s, 2s, or 3s.
I think I will wait and engage, because if you fire, you're going to be at -1s, so that's going to be 1 or 2, and you're going to give me half hits anyway. So I think I'll engage.
Okay, I'm going to split my forces. In fact, although I place those 2 in cavalry, the king is actually infantry, and Rupert, his troops are dismounted to storm the walls. So some of the infantry is going to engage, and the rest is going to fire their muskets. So I've got the Cheshire infantry, 4 strength. They're firing. They'll need 1s or 2s to hit. They cause 2 hits. So
that's going to be... Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's actually 1 hit. Yeah, because
2
it's...
half hits. Yeah, so it's 1 whole. Now the king, with his lifeguard and other regiments, has 3 strength. So I roll 3 dice. Again, I need 1s or 2s. That's another half hit. So if you, Okay, so now it's the engaging infantry, the defender first. So although you've taken a half hit, you round up when you determine how many dice you roll. So you'd still be rolling 2 dice.
2 dice, and I hit on 1 or 3s. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Oh,
that's missed. What's happened to the training of your troops, Fred?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Okay.
Is it a lack of training, or is it the poor leadership?
I think it's a bit of both. It's probably a bit of both. Now you're going to roll 3 dice where you're going to hit on
So the dismounted cavalry will hit on 1s to 3s. They've got 3 dice. That's another half hit.
That puts me at 1. And that's going to be take half hit.
That's right. And then the more Cheshire infantry at 3 strength, they need 1s or 2s. That's another half a hit. So disappointing that you've still got some infantry left. So I haven't captured the city yet. So we go on to round 2. Now, as it's a siege, you've got nowhere to retreat to, so there's no general retreat. If I wanted, I could rotate some of my units, so I could move units out and move others in, because I have 7 blocks in total besieging the city. But I'm happy with the situation. They've done well. So let's move these blocks back to the... so the dismounted cavalry can't fire. They don't have muskets. They've got to engage. So artillery fire, as Fred said, only happens in round 1. So we're back to firing infantry.
Yeah.
That's nice to gain a little bit of honor.
Yeah, he's not going to do much. I think he's just going to fire in the hope of doing 1 hit before dying. So he's going to stay in firing position. God, that's really bad. That's really bad. So I hit on a 1 or a 2.
The 5.
The sadness.
Okay, well, they're all going to engage, climb the walls. So we'll start with, I think, the king's troops. Let's see if they can deliver the coup de grace. So they have 3 strength, 3 dice. They need 1s or 1, 2s or 3s. That's
you're good.
2 half hits, which is more than enough.
Yeah. So this one I'm gonna put back on the board, and actually you take positions of the cannons, right?
I do, yes. So if I had artillery blocks which had lost strength, I could recover strength with them. In this case, I don't actually take possession of the block. You lose it, but my artillery park is still at full strength, so I won't gain any benefit from that. Probably I'm leaving some of the artillery to defend Bristol.
Do I put the cannons in my pool, or
yes, you can rebuild the block. It is very expensive and takes some time. I'm going to remove the siege block from Bristol and move my blocks back onto the map. So Bristol has been taken much earlier than during the war. It's actually taken in the summer of 1643, so I'm ahead of schedule. And so it's back on 1 victory point for the Parliamentarians, which was this.
Yeah.
Back to the situation at the start. Okay, so that's the end of the tactical phase. In the supply phase, we're going to check supply, and also we're going to resolve the siege.
we have another siege. Oh yeah, you were going to resolve the siege then. Yeah.
I've already decided not to storm in Plymouth.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'd still been besieging Bristol, I might have had some supply issues, but because I now own the city, that can happily supply an additional 2 blocks, so I can supply up to 6 infantry cavalry blocks, and the 2 artillery blocks don't need supplies, so they're happily supplied in Somerset. Now, your army in just east of Bristol has 5 blocks. The area can only supply 4, but if you've got artillery, that doesn't need supply. So if you have 4 blocks there, you're fully supplied. If you have 5 infantry and cavalry, you have 1 block unsupplied, and you can choose which block you don't feed and reduce its strength by 1.
Yeah, I know which block I'm gonna let starve.
Yeah, it's either, I mean, they're probably not starving, but you probably haven't paid them, you haven't equipped them properly, they're deserting en masse.
Good.
Okay, so that's the supply. I don't think there are any other supply issues. So then we look at the sieges. So let's go back to York. Now it's the first turn of the siege.
Wait a minute. I'm gonna bring the player rate again. Yeah. So you have the siege attrition. Yeah.
Okay. So if you look at the siege table on the left-hand side, we see this is the value on the marker. So if the value was 1, and it rolled a die, the tick on the 6 means that a roll of 6 would cause the city to surrender. As the value is 0, we don't actually roll, so there's no chance yet of the city surrendering. The other icons show any losses. So a 1 is attrition, so the defenders would lose 1 strength. The other icons show, for example, the crossed anchor means that if it's not a port city, you would lose attrition. In other words, port cities are easier to supply, so you lose less to attrition in those. Similarly, the cavalry, if you have cavalry, you are more likely to lose attrition as the besieged force. So in this case, we don't need to roll. All we do is increase the value of the siege marker to a 1. So at the end of the next turn, if the siege is still ongoing, then there would be a chance of the city surrendering. Same happens in Plymouth. So yeah, you've increased the value of the siege marker.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the end of the turn. Now, as it's the end of the year, we have end of year recruitment. So the Royalists will do this first. So the way this works is we look region by region. So let's start with the north. So in the north, for every area I control, I will gain 1 recruitment point, which will allow me to either add a strength to a block on the map in the north, or to recruit a new block at 1 strength into a friendly area in the north. Also, I get a point for every city, mid-sized city, which has a, so if you look at Newcastle, for example, it has, in the bottom left, it has an icon of a pikeman with a helmet. That shows that it provides a recruitment point at the end of the year. So here I control 2 areas where I've got blocks, plus the city of Newcastle, so that's 3 recruitment points. So I'm going to spend them to add a strength to a block on the map in the North Riding, just outside of York. And then I've got 2 more points, so I will recruit a block at 2 strength, and that is also going to go into that area.
Whew.
Okay, so that's the north. Wales, I have a similar process. Now, the areas with my icon, so a blue icon with a crown in, are friendly to me, even if there's no block there. So those will provide recruitment in Northwest Wales and Central Wales. In the region just to the east, Shropshire and Staffordshire, because you have a block there, it doesn't provide recruitment to me. It's friendly to you instead. So I've got 3 areas in total which will provide recruitment. My blocks are at full strength, so I'm going to recruit a new block at 3 strength in the south of Wales. In the Midlands, I have no cities. I've just got 1 area, so I'm going to add 1 strength to a block I have in Staffordshire. In the east, I have no blocks at all and no friendly areas. And finally, in the south, I control 3 areas in total. So the Somerset, Devon, and Cornwall. So that will give me 3 strength. I'm going to increase a block in Devon by 1 strength and recruit another block at 2 strength again into Devon. So that's the end of my recruitment. So
back to me. So north, I have nothing. Wales, I have 2.
The north, you do actually have 1 area. So the West Riding has your icon.
Oh, yes, that's true.
So that's friendly to you, even though it's empty blocks. This was a hotbed of parliamentarian support. From the cloth towns, early manufacturing, so sort of proto working class.
So I'm gonna bring 1 unit at 1 strength for this single point that I have, because the York bonus I don't get because we are under siege.
That's correct.
Then Wales I have 2 points because I'm in 2 areas. My armies are at full strength, so I'm gonna build a unit there. And I do have. Do I have one that I can build?
You have no more. You have no more blocks for Wales.
Yeah.
So Wales was largely Royalist. It was only the southwest really was Parliamentarian. So there was a limited number of Welsh who would be prepared to join your ranks.
Yeah, so I cannot do anything here. The Midlands have 2 points, 3. So 1 for the 2 regions and 1 for Oxford. So 3 points for the Midlands. And the Midlands, I don't have a lot of blocks. I only have 1. And I'm going to bring it at full strength because it's a 3-step block. Actually, I'm not going to put it here. I'm going to put it here. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, and one very important thing I forgot. Let you finish your recruitment, and then I'll bring on the Queen, who's very important.
Yeah, Henrietta.
Yes, it was very remiss of me to forget my Queen.
Yes, I think it's probably for the best. So the East. I have those 2 regions that are favorable to me. Then I have Cambridge and London. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 points. And then the 2 points in London are only for London units, right? Or
no, the 2 points for London can be used for any blocks in or adjacent to the London area. So you could even use them for blocks in Oxford or blocks in theory where your main army is, but because you're already undersupplied there, you can't add any more blocks.
Yeah. So I might so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6 then.
So you can put London blocks must be placed in London, but you could also place Eastern blocks in that area where London is.
And I have 6, so I will bring this at full strength, and I can put it in Oxford if I want.
If it's a Midlands block, yes.
If it's a Midlands block, yeah. So I have 4 elements. 4 and 2, 6. Yes, I'm happy with that.
Okay, so the Queen appears in Le Continent, also not in the English Channel. So historically, she actually sold the crown jewels to raise money to purchase arms and equipment. And she historically, in early 1643, she sailed to the coast of Yorkshire, just to the east of York, with help from the Dutch Navy, brought in some mercenaries, some cavalry, and lots of supplies. So as a Royalist player, I can move the Queen by sea. Now that I've captured Hull, so the port of Hull is vital for the German Ocean. So the control of oceans is abstracted. In this game, if you control the associated port, you control the sea. So the Parliamentarians control London, which gives them control of the British Sea. I've captured Bristol, which gives me control of the Irish Sea, and similarly I've captured Hull, which gives me control of the German Ocean. So with control of the ocean, I can happily move blocks by sea. If I don't control an ocean, I want to move blocks through it. For example, if I wanted to move the Queen through the British Sea into the south, I would have to roll on a table, and there's a chance of taking losses or being forced to return. So that's the end of the year.
Yes, we're going in 1643. Do we get those supplies, or that's at the end of the year?
That's the end of the year. So now what we do is all of the cards from the discard go back into the deck. So all the cards we've played, apart from Fortification of London, remains on the map. We also add the 1643 cards into the deck. So we each have 3 additional cards which go into the deck.
So you see 1643, I would right click and add to the draw deck. And now I draw 6, right?
Yes, now you draw 6. Draw multiple cards. So now we're keeping all of the cards. We'll be playing 1 card for each turn of the year.
Something weird happened. Wait a minute. Because I'm pretty sure I drew 6. Okay, no.
Okay, so I won't look at your cards. So we're both choosing a card for the first turn. And okay, so you've chosen a card value 3 with an event. I've chosen a card value 4, so I'm going to go first, which is what I'd planned. And your card has an operational phase event, so the event will take place before I spend the points on my card.
Yes. And so the event because it might be a bit small for people in the stream. So this event says that my opponent, so Scott in that case, will choose 1 regional block outside of its home region, reduce it by 1 strength, and then place it back to its home region in a friendly area if one exists.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping to target one of those units in the south and force them to probably go back in Wales.
Yes, so I've got a choice of 2 blocks. I've got a Welsh and a Midlands block. I'm going to actually choose the Midlands block because it's closer to home. Actually, no, I've got two Midlands blocks to choose from. So let's choose this one and reduce it by a strength, and it's going to go back into Staffordshire and Warwickshire. So they've fled north back to their homeland. Now I have 4 points to spend. So what I'm going to do is I want to garrison Bristol, so I'm going to spend 1 point and recruiting a block at 1 strength. I'll just place that in the city for now. So my second point, I'm going to move the King's Army. So I'm going to activate Somerset. King's Army is going to move east into the region of Wiltshire and Berkshire, where the main Parliamentarian army is. For my third point, I'm going to activate Staffordshire and Warwickshire. I've got 3 blocks there. So they're Midlands blocks, but they have a commander with them from the Midlands, so they can leave the Midlands. Move block 2 across that border there. So they will be fighting in a battle with the King's main army, but they'll join as reinforcements in round 2 of the battle. And for the final move, I'll activate South East Wales, where I have 3 blocks. They're going to move into Central Wales and then into Cheshire. So that's my 4 points. The Queen is still in the continent. I don't think I needed her just yet.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe a short game. I'm not sure. I'll go to the end of 1643.
It's not a very good advertisement for the balance of the game, Fred. I was hoping
Yeah.
you would put up more resistance.
You don't have to be that mean. Come on. Yeah. It's pretty bad. It's really bad. It's
Now, you can
really bad.
potentially reinforce the battle too.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. But the problem is that I don't have leaders.
You should have a Midlands leader somewhere.
Oh, yes, that's true. Yeah.
He's probably in Oxfordshire, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I forgot to put him on the top of the stack. Okay, so yeah, that's actually a good point. But he can only come with what is in Oxford.
That's right, yeah. Also, if you leave Oxfordshire completely empty, then Oxford will revert.
Directly to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bordel à cul. Yeah, that's really bad. Okay, so I have 3 action points. Can I actually...
One of the things you can do, you could potentially move all 3 blocks from Oxford, if they're Midlands blocks with a commander. And you can also move blocks from London. So the London blocks can move to any adjacent area, even without a commander. So you could potentially move London blocks, not Eastern blocks, but London blocks into Oxford.
Yeah. So I think that's... I'm going to move a London block to Oxford here. That's going to be my first AP. My second AP is going to be that stack moving in here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a third. And I'm wondering, can I actually use 1 AP to reinforce one of those units here? Or because it's...
No, because it's already contested, you can't recruit at all.
So I have 1 left. And I think I'm going to annoy you just by moving this here.
Threatening Newcastle.
Threatening Newcastle to force you to use action points in the north. I basically don't have a choice. Or, wait a minute, I could also do something a bit less stupid. Potentially, I could reinforce Chester.
Yeah.
But is it reasonable? The problem is if I reinforce Chester and if I want to do a general retreat with that unit, I won't have a friendly area next to me to actually retreat to.
You can retreat into empty areas.
And an empty one, yeah. So I would just... no, I would keep on that plan and threaten Newcastle. So go up here in the north. And I guess that's what I'll do. Mm-hmm. That's what I'll do. So those are my 3 action points. So 1 unit from London to Oxford. The units in Oxford are going to defend the south. And then I have a unit in the north that is threatening Newcastle.
Okay, good. So we go to the operational phase. I was player 1, so I decide the order of the battles. We have 2 battles. Let's do the one in Wales first. I think this is going to be a morale boost for the Royalists. I have a good feeling about this.
And I'm going to try to... I can try to avoid the battle, right?
Yes. So if you have... cavalry in particular have a reasonable chance of withdrawing before the battle takes place. With infantry, the chances are much lower, but you could try.
So I'm going to show that here. I think it's, withdraw before battle. So if I roll a 1, I get 2 hits. If I roll a 2, I get 1 hit. 3, it's a fail. And I would succeed on a 4, 5, or 6. But I would lose quite a lot of units.
Yeah. So if I have more cavalry than you, then there is a addition to the die roll.
Yeah.
A reduction to the die roll. So more chance of you losing strength. So thematically, while he's trying to withdraw, I might, some of your troops are left behind, which I managed to engage in combat. So even a successful withdrawal can result in you losing some strength.
I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take that first round and order a general retreat. Let's go for the battle board.
Okay. So remember, the retreat is only from round 2.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I painfully remember.
Okay, so unfortunately for you, I have some cavalry.
Oh God.
So we're going to see how effective they are against infantry. So we're on round 1. So we go from left to right. There's no artillery. So you go on to infantry. As a defender, you choose first whether to fire or engage.
I'm gonna fire, because if I engage, I won't roll any dice, I think. Yeah. So I'm gonna fire. I roll 4 dice, and I will hit on a 1 only, right?
That's right, yeah.
And that's, yeah, nothing.
No hits. I think they're afraid.
Yeah, they might be.
In their shoes.
They might be.
Okay, so somebody in the comment did suggest you charge, which... So my infantry is going to wait to engage, and let's bring in the cavalry. So the cavalry are next. So if you had cavalry opposing, then my cavalry would have to charge your cavalry.
Yeah.
But as you have no cavalry at all, they'll charge your infantry, and I get +1 bonus to my effectiveness against infantry.
Oh, they're going to get
hit on 1s, 2s, or 3s. 3 dice.
Get massacred. Oh.
Is no hits. Okay, so my cavalry has been woefully ineffective. I think your pikemen have stood firm. So I send in my infantry. I have 2 blocks at 4 strength each, so I roll 8 dice in total, and it's only 1 hit.
Yes.
What is happening here? I think these Welsh units are poorly led.
So we're gonna round 2, and I order a general retreat, hoping that I will survive long enough. And because I order a general retreat, I will have to take hits anyway, so I don't really care. I think I will go into the... I get -1 if I do the general retreat, right?
You get -1. Sorry, you get -2. I get -1.
Okay, so it doesn't change anything. I'm not rolling anything, so I'm just gonna take it.
Yeah. If you had elite units, they'll hit on 1s, but you don't have elite units. They're average units.
Jan just joined the stream. Hey Jan, who's winning? I think it's tight. No, I'm getting massacred.
Well, on the victory point track, it's actually pretty.
Sure.
Looks, on paper it looks pretty even.
Yeah, on paper, but on the ground is full of blood.
Well, we'll see. Anything can happen in the large battle, which is going to take place soon.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it's going to be decided there.
Let's resolve this. So my cavalry has +1 because it's charging infantry, but -1 because you're running away. So I hit on 1s or 2s with 3 strength. No hits. The infantry, they're only hitting on 1s because you're retreating. So I have 8 dice. No hits.
Oh, yes. Awesome. Great. So he's coming back, and he can retreat, and he's going to retreat with his buddy here. So the morale boost didn't happen.
Didn't happen. But I've retaken Cheshire, and with it, the unfortified city of Chester.
So we're good to the
So
middle.
we're halfway towards my target. Captured. Overall, I've captured a net 1 city. Okay, so now we have a very large battle just east of Bristol. So the main forces are going to be placed showing, and those coming in later are going to be in the reserves that's still hidden. So
wait a minute. Where did my stack go?
It's easier if you separate the stack out while it's still on the map. For some reason, the battle mat doesn't like stacks of units. So On the Royalist side, we have the King, Charles I, his nephew, Prince Rupert.
All right, I made a mistake when I moved something. If it's okay, I'm just gonna put it back in Oxford. There's something that I couldn't have moved. Yeah, good. So this I'm gonna bring back the battle mats. Yes. So here is for the big fight. Yes.
So what's happened to your artillery?
I
know
so
I captured some in Bristol, but
yeah, actually I left. Yeah, so you took my a big 4-step artillery in Bristol. There is some in other cities. Yeah, but
I know you said it's not so effective in battle, but I think the Parliamentarian artillery is a little bit stronger. You've got more cannons.
Yeah, but the problem is that I could have brought the artillery for that battle, but it would have entered on round 2, so I wouldn't have fired with it. So it didn't make sense for me to bring it in. I should have brought it very early in the game, so last year, but I haven't done it.
Okay, so round 1, artillery first. You've got no artillery as the defender, so I fire my 2 blocks, 3 strength each. 3 dice. Now, I can target either your infantry or your cavalry, but if I target cavalry, I'm at -1. It's a little bit more difficult to hit more spaced out cavalry troops, so I'm going to target your infantry with all 6 dice, and that's 2 twos, that's 2 hits. So your strongest units each point, so both of those will take a hit. Infantry, you're the defender, so you choose first what to do with your infantry.
And I will engage. Wait a minute. Will I engage? Yeah, because I have the cavalry. And if you fire, do you fire at my infantry or at my cavalry?
At your infantry.
So that means that's just going to be 3 dice on the 1 or 2 and 3 dice on the 1. Yeah, I'm going to engage.
I'm going to engage with one of my blocks, but King Charles's troops are going to fire. So they roll 3 dice, -1, so they hit on only 1s or 2s. No hits. That was a mistake. So on to the cavalry. Defending cavalry first. You're quite strong. 7 strength in total.
Yeah, Scott, can you hear me?
I can hear.
Okay, yeah, I think I was disconnected for a while. Yeah, so now I will roll for my for my cavalry. They are all the same, so I will roll, and I attack yours. So that's going to be 3 dice first. No hits. Then 3 dice again. 1 hit. And then no hits. So just 1 hit.
1 hit. So I'll choose this block on the right. So I have 5 strength. They're all elite cavalry hitting on 1s, 2s, or 3s. Let's roll for the Rupert first with 3, 1 hit. The other block, no hits, so it's 1 hit each.
Whew. And now for engaging infantry.
So you need to take a hit with one of your cavalry blocks, the Gloucester cavalry.
Yeah, I took it.
Okay. I'm not seeing that, so I'm wondering if...
Oh, I might have been disconnected when I...
from battle.
Yeah. Wait a minute, I'm going to try to synchronize with you again. Tell me if you see it moving on your side.
Don't see anything moving, no.
Okay, I think when I got disconnected, I'm just gonna disconnect and reconnect. So sorry for that. For people who were in the stream, I had a small connection issue, and I think it had a bit of an impact on the. Actually, if I can.
Maybe if I synchronize with you.
Oh, it's too late. I think I'm quitting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quitting them. So maybe while we take a short, I would say, a short break. I don't know if anyone has some questions or if you have some comments on your side, Scott, on how the game you think is going.
Well, it's going pretty well for the Royalists, but a lot depends on the outcome of this battle. So large battles can go either way. There's quite a lot of chance involved, as it's a block game with a lot of rolling. So I think if the battle is a decisive win for the Royalists, it's probably game over for the Parliamentarians. If the Parliamentarians win the battle, then it's going to be, at least initially, a little bit difficult for the Royalists. So
leave your game open on your side. I'm going because I have a bit of a problem with Vassal. I think this disconnection actually created a bit of an issue. Mm-hmm. But when I have you here and when I do that, I think I will ask you a few questions. So as you said, so that was your first published design. Mm-hmm. I was wondering what. Wait a minute. I'm going to remove this. Do you have any plans for future designs or?
Yeah, I mean, I've been working actually for the past year and a half on a design for Phalanx games. So this is, I've been working, it's not my own design, so it's designed by someone else. I've been working more on the development side with Andy Rourke, who has designed Coalitions, which is on Kickstarter now. So the two of us have been working on a game called Pursuit of Victory, which is a 2-player Napoleonic game, grand strategic. It plays in 2 to 3 hours. It's a card-driven game, but the card-driven mechanics are very different to traditional ones. So the mechanics, the card mechanics are actually inspired a little bit by Europe Divided, which is also published by Phalanx. And that game is on pre-order now with Phalanx. I'm still working on that with the designer. And in terms of my own designs, I haven't been working on them a lot, but I have a game which I'd like to offer to Nuts Publishing on the Anarchy, which was another civil war in England, but during the 12th century. And that is a smaller game with a deck building aspect. So it's sort of a hybrid wargame Euro.
Oh, and I would need you, Scott, to unlock the room on Vassal.
Yeah. Unlock.
So would that be in the Ration de Combat series for?
Yes, I think my intention now is to streamline it and make it a sort of small footprint game so they fit into the Combat Rations series.
So the Combat Ration series is the series of small CDGs by Nuts Publishing, in which you have, for now, only 300 Earth and Sea. So I am back, and okay. And now, do you see my the step loss in my infantry?
Should be one of your cavalry, so your Gloucester cavalry block.
Yeah, Gloucester cavalry step. So I have 1 at 3, 1 at 2, and 1 at 1.
So you should have reduced the 3 strength block.
Yeah, and the 2 of them were at 3 originally.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes, you're right. So yeah, so that's fine.
Okay, sorry for that small interruption. Good. But now we're all back. And so that means that now we go into the engaging infantry phase of the battle.
So you are engaging against both my blocks. So even though one of my blocks is in the firing infantry box, that's just for sort of gameplay purposes. Thematically, it's think of the infantry in the center of the battlefield firing or engaging against each other, and the cavalry split into two wings.
So I'm going to roll 2 times 3 dice, and I'm going to hit on 1 and 2s because I don't have the penalty of -1 because I'm not firing. So first block, and that's 1 hit.
Yep.
And second block,
3
that's
hits.
2 hits. Oh, God, 3 hits all in all. Okay, that's good.
Okay. So I have to take 1 off each of my blocks, including the king's block.
Yes.
And the third one I'll take off not the king's block, clearly. Okay, so finally,
reminder for those that were not here earlier in the stream, that king's block, if I kill it, I get 2 VPs.
Yeah. So if you reduce the block to 0, the troops have been killed and you capture the king.
Yeah.
Send him to the Isle of Wight, probably.
Well, I have other plans for him, but
okay.
Please stop that.
Well, you've got
so
to
that
capture
was.
him first, but, so I've got
and now we have
1 block with 1 strength left. Let's just roll for that. They failed,
and nothing happens. So we go to round 2. Those guys come back here, and then we're going to reveal both our reserve.
Yep.
I have this guy coming in, and this guy coming in.
Okay,
and now
so
it's
quite an
artillery doesn't.
now.
Yeah, the artillery is not going to fire anymore. So now it's a bit more even.
Yeah. But you're still the defense, which gives you an advantage.
The problem is that your units are really good. Yeah,
they're very good, but I don't have so much strength in infantry. That's my concern. So I'm down to 8.
5-8, and I'm at 10. The problem is that me firing, it's really bad. It's really, really bad. I only have 1 chance out of 6 for each die that I roll, so it's really not great. Une sur 6 si je jette 3D. Une chance sur 2 de faire une touche. I think I'm gonna move those guys to engaging and keep 3 for firing.
Okay. So you fire before I decide what to do with mine.
So 3 dice, and that's no hits.
Okay. I'm going to fire with 2 of my units. So they need 1s and 2s. So top unit with 3 strength, 3 dice is 1 hit on a 2. And the king's block has 2 dice, is a hit on a 1.
Good. Then cavalry, and now I'm a bit stronger. So I have 6 and 9 that I can roll. The thing with cavalry is that if I destroy Scott's cavalry, I might pursue and go out of that and leave the battlefield. So that's the thing. So we'll see. We're not there yet, but yeah, you can see that there is on the bottom left of each of those cubes there is a value, and the bottom left is the, how do you call it, the discipline.
Discipline. Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Your cavalry are a little bit more disciplined than mine, so there's actually more chance of mine. If I'm victorious, I'm more likely to pursue your remaining troops off the battlefield.
So I'm gonna roll 3 dice first, and that's actually 3 hits. Then 2 dice, no hits. Then 1 die, no hits, and then 3 dice again, and that's 5 hits.
5 hits. Wow. I think this battle is not going well for the Royalists.
So that's 3.
3, 4, 5. So I only have 3 strength left. So I'm going to roll 3 dice together. They will hit on 1s, 2s, and 3s. And that's 2 hits.
2 hits, so that's going to be 1 for him and 1 for him.
Okay, so now in the cavalry battle, or cavalry portion of the battle, if one side calls more hits than the other, then there's a chance that they win the cavalry part of the battle and force my or the opposing cavalry to retreat. So you've caused 3 more hits than I caused to you. So it gives you a 3 in 6 chance. So if you roll 1, 2, or 3, you effectively charge my cavalry off the battlefield.
And I do.
Done. So I place my cavalry into the routing cavalry box. This is really embarrassing for Prince Rupert.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
Oops. I think
Oh yeah, they're stacking.
There's not even 2 in them. There's so many of them. Okay, so you now need to roll for your cavalry. So if you roll equal to or less than their discipline, 1, 2, or 3, they stay on the battlefield.
Yeah, and I'm going to roll for the first one. They stay. Second one, they go away. So I'm going to put him here. Third one stays. Last one stays.
Oh. Disaster. Disaster.
Oh, I think that it smells like a dead king, you know?
I was half considering ordering a general retreat already at the beginning of this round, but...
you can still do it in round 3 and try to save yourself. Yeah. And now I'm going to roll 6 dice on a 1 and 2 for... yes, for the attack on your remaining infantry. Knowing that actually, if I want to decrease the ones in front of me, I need to do more than 2 hits because if not, you can just take them on the firing infantry units.
Yes. Yeah.
So 3 on 1 to 2, that's no hits, and then 3 on 1 to 2, and that's 2 hits.
2 hits. Yeah, I've got to take 1 on
the strongest one. Yeah.
And I'll take the I'll take the second one on that also.
Yeah.
So now I've got 3 strength, 2 units with 3 strength. Between them, they hit on 1s and 2s. And there's no hits. That was a terrible, terrible round for me.
Good. Now we go to round 3. They go back here. And now you can, do a general retreat if you wanted.
Yes, so the king is ordering a general retreat. He's really unhappy with the performance of his nephew with the cavalry. He's blaming Prince Rupert, I think, for this disaster.
Oh, and I get a +1 with cavalry against infantry, right?
Yes, yeah.
So that's going to be +1, -1. Yeah.
+1, -1 total because I'm retreating.
Yeah. And you're going to be -2 because you're retreating. So I think I'm going to put everyone in engaging to try to do the maximum casualties.
That makes sense. I think your cavalry alone might be enough to maybe not to kill the king yet.
No, I don't think so. I think he probably is going to risk. Yeah. Because you don't have that many hits to take. Yeah, that's actually, you only have 6, but I don't think I can kill him. Yeah. So you do fire or do you engage?
I'm going to engage. So I'm engaging at... I'm at -2, so I need to engage to have any chance to hit with those.
Yeah.
The other 2 blocks can't hit even if they engage.
Can't hit, yeah. So first we're going to roll for the cavalry. So they roll on 2s, +1 for cavalry against infantry, -1 for the retreat. So yeah, I have 5 to roll. So 2 hits, 3 hits, 3 hits.
3 hits. So the king his units have to take 1. And there's 2 strength unit, and then I'll eliminate the final one of those units. Gets back onto the map in the recruitment pool. Okay.
And then I have my engaging infantry that is at -1, so they only hit on 1s.
Yeah. I need a little bit of A few misfires here, please.
Yeah, I think ones is probably unrealistic. So first, no hits. No hits. Oh, that's too bad. And one hit.
One hit. Some desperate prayers to God have saved the day, I think.
God.
So finally, I have my 2 units will hit on ones. Even retreating, they don't hit. So the battle was a disaster, but the king survives. He hasn't been captured. So retreat. So I'm going to retreat west back to Somerset. Hide.
Is there a pursuit or no?
No, there's no pursuit now.
And is there something with the how do you say the artillery?
So the artillery, yes, I have to roll. So for each block I roll on a 1, 2, or 3, it loses a step. So I've left behind some of the guns. So let me roll 2 dice. They've both lost a strength. So I've left behind some of the artillery. Reduce strength. Reduce strength. So that's my retreat. Okay. So you can now stay in that area, or you can regroup to an adjacent area.
Yeah, I'm going to regroup because I would be overstacking here.
Or you can choose some units to remain and some to regroup.
Yeah. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I think I need 3 to go away. Can an East Army move into the Midlands from the south with a Midland general, or it has to be?
No. So the East block has to stay with your overall commander.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Midlands block can move back into the Midlands on its own, and obviously the Midlands commander can take any Midlands blocks.
Yep. And so that's what I'm going to do. He's going to move here. And here we should be fine because we also have Oxford that is providing some supply. Good. So that's my redeploy.
Okay. So the king's attempt to move on London has failed. So now we're still in the operations phase. We have the potential siege combat. So if we look at Plymouth in the southwest, do you want to sally?
So we're actually in tactical.
Tactical, yeah. Sorry, not operations, tactical phase.
In Plymouth, I'm not going to sally. I think that's a bit unrealistic. And in New York, I'm not going to sally either.
Yeah, I'm not going to storm in Plymouth. York, you've only got 1 block in York, so I'm going to storm York. So I have 4 blocks that are all going to take part in storming, so I can storm York with up to 4 blocks. It's quite a large city. So if we move onto the battle mat, I don't have any artillery, so I'm not attempting to breach the walls beforehand. Let's just storm the walls.
Oh, wait a minute. I need to bring the battle mats also back again. Oh, yeah. That's going to be tough.
So you need to reveal your block, and it's a cavalry. Cavalry is not great in a siege situation.
Nope.
So
Okay.
your cavalry acts as infantry, but they don't have muskets, so they can't fire. They have to engage.
So they have to engage.
Okay, so with my cavalry must also engage, but my infantry, they can fire and they will. So fire, needing 1s or 2s. So the first block has 4 strength, it's 4 dice, no hits. The second block, 2 half hits.
Yeah.
Then your cavalry dismounted, so acting as infantry, engaging. You hit on 1s or 2s.
1 hit.
It's 1 hit. That I have to choose one of my strongest units with 4 strength. So let's reduce the Northumberland infantry. Then I have the Northumberland horse dismounted. They hit on 1s, 2s, or 3s, and they have 3 strength, so 3 dice. They've missed. And the other cavalry, 2 dice, they hit on 1s or 2s, they've missed. So it wasn't a very successful first round, but I now have the option to end the assault or to continue. So I can just go back to my siege lines and end the assault, or I can continue storming, which I will do. So the second round of the storming, I'm going to engage with everything.
That's the spirit. Good. Then I rolled 2 dice, hitting on 1 and 2. That's 1 hit.
It's 1 hit. So the troops of the commander, the Earl of Newcastle, take the hit. Then I start with the block in the top left, the Northumberland infantry, 3 strength. They need 1s, 2s, or 3s. That's 2 half hits.
So that's going to reduce my strength by 1.
Second block, again, 3 strength. And that's another 2 half hits, which is enough to eliminate your block.
He is dead.
So I'm glad I didn't wait out the siege, but decided to be a little bit more proactive.
That's 1 extra VP for you.
Yep. So let's. Okay, so the north is looking comfortable, apart from Newcastle. So I've now at 1 VP on my side, which is what I need to win by the end of the 6th round. So there's potentially time for you to recapture a city.
Yeah, that's to say the least. Yeah, and now we go into the supply phase, right?
Yeah.
So supply phase, which means that we have the attrition, and I don't have anywhere where I have attrition.
Okay. So even my large army has 8 blocks, but two of them.
Yeah, so you're at 6.
6.
Don't you have...
Yeah, Bristol can supply 2. So the area can supply 4, and Bristol another 2 infantry. How much cavalry do I have there? I've only got 2 cavalry. No, I've got 3 cavalry there, which is too much. So you can never supply more than 2 cavalry in a region. So I have to take a loss of a strength with one of those cavalry, and it was only at 1 strength, so it's eliminated.
Nice.
That is this block. Okay, and then finally we have sieges. So Plymouth's under siege. The siege marker has a value 1. So if we go to the player aid,
yeah, I'm going to bring it up. Give me a second. So that's going to be on the reverse side. And here it is. And we have the siege attrition table. You can see we're on value 1. So it means that if Scots rolls a 6, he gets 1 attrition, but he takes the city of Plymouth.
That's actually you who take the attrition. So you're the.
I take that. Oh, yes, yeah, that makes more sense. Obviously, yes.
Yeah.
That would be weird. That
Yeah.
That you get tired from waiting. Yeah.
Yeah. So roll the die. So 1, no effect at all, no attrition for you, and you don't surrender. So we increase the value of the block to 2, and that's the end of the turn.
Good. So we go into phase 2. The plate cards, I'm gonna return them to the deck. Where's my hand? Yeah.
So I think the battle changed the situation somewhat.
Yeah.
So now the king's army is quite weak. So if you can concentrate your forces and attack the king's army.
That was the plan. But I don't think you'll let me do that.
I actually have let you go first.
Ooh. And you place supplies from the continent. So if you control London, Bristol, or Plymouth, deploy and or add a total of 2 strength as per recruitment. 2, 1 or 2 infantry and or artillery other way. Okay.
So the event takes place before you spend your points.
Yeah, so you can reinforce them before the potential fight that we have.
So probably some equipment from France, potentially, or the Low Countries has sailed into the port of Bristol. And I'm going to add some strength to my infantry there.
Good. Okay. But I have 4 APs. So first of all, with 1 AP, I'm going to take Newcastle.
Yep. Yes, I should have gone first. I think it was probably to your advantage for you to go first.
Then 1 AP, I'm going to move from here to here. Second AP, I'm going to move from here to here. And then with the third AP, last AP, I'm going to move here and protect Oxford from... Oh, but you don't have anything in the Midland anymore. So I don't have any risk of you doing anything.
No.
So actually, with that last action point, I could reinforce 1 troop before moving it?
Yes, you can.
Then that would be perfect.
So there's a question in the chat about the new model army. So yes, the new model army arrives at the beginning of 1645, and the way it's handled mechanically is the 6 new blocks replace 6 existing blocks, and the new blocks are better quality, so they're all value 3 effectiveness. And I also replace 3 of my commanders with new commanders. And the commanders are at the moment, I have 1 overall commander who can lead any troops, and 3 regional commanders who can only lead troops from their regions. So the new model army has 3 overall commanders who are very... It gives a lot more flexibility for the parliamentarian player, as well as giving them some better quality troops.
I have a question. With a Midland general, can I move a London unit out of the Midlands?
So if a London unit is in Oxfordshire, it can freely move as long as it's always in or adjacent to the area of London.
Okay, so I wouldn't take a Midland general and take the London unit that was in Oxford and bring it into the battle.
No, you can't do that. So you'd need your overall commander to move that London unit further away from London.
So that's actually pretty sad. Okay, so yeah, that was 1, that was 2, 3, and then with 4, I actually strengthened one of my. Then I will probably not increase that one, because that means that I'm going to increase this one instead. Yeah. Okay. That's it for my 4 APs.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've got 3 APs. I'll activate Devon. So I'm going to maintain the siege with a single block and move the other 2 blocks to reinforce the battle in Somerset. So that's a 1 point. For the second point, I will.
You had 3 blocks there. Yes.
Yeah. For the second point, I want to deal with Newcastle. I was foolish to let you march in, but I will recruit. No, I don't. Yeah. Yes, I recruit a block, 1 strength. It's a garrison block, and then for my final point, I'll activate the stack in North Riding. That's 4 blocks. I'll move into Northumberland. Your block, you can.
Oh, I will wait for you in Newcastle.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Good. So that will be the end of the operations phase, and now we go into the tactical phase. And I'm the first player, and I think I want to do the battle in Bristol.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm the defender this time.
Yes. Oop. So I decided that this stack would be my attacking stack. I think. Oh yeah. Oh, you still have. Yeah, you had quite a lot of stuff though.
So I added some. My event card allowed me to increase the king's block by 2 strength because his block is infantry.
Okay. Oh yeah, he's back. He's back and he's strong. Good. And I'm gonna reveal everyone.
Okay. So your infantry block you can place in the firing infantry area to begin with.
Yes. Oh yeah.
But first, my artillery. I have 2 blocks at 2 strength each. So I roll 2 dice. For the first one, I'm going to target your infantry. That's 1 hit. 1 hit in total.
Oh, sorry. So what did you say? 1 hit for my infantry?
Infantry, yep. And then your artillery. So you have, even with a single block, you have as much strength as I do.
Oof, and that's 3 hits.
3 hits on my infantry. That's so I have
1 blocks die. Yeah.
Yeah, that was very painful. So the Bristol garrison is they're the cannon fodder. They're going to be eliminated. So the infantry, I'm going to fire with them. So they're both at 3, reduced by 1 for firing. So I need 2s. I'll roll the dice individually. 2 hits.
And he's dead.
The king's lifeguard is protecting the king.
But that's very sad. Wait a minute, where I can put it? I'm gonna put it in Wales for now. And now, cavalry.
Cavalry. So I've only got 2 strength of cavalry, but they're elite. I hit on 1s, 2s, or 3s. That's 2 hits.
So reduce and reduce, and now I roll 3 dice.
Prince Rupert has upped his game since the last battle. He's had a talking to from his uncle.
1 hit.
1 hit.
So actually, now you have a chance of routing me.
Yeah. So I've lost 1 of the blocks. Hide. Yeah. So I roll a die, and a 1. I win the battle, the cavalry battle, which I do.
Yes. So they are
route, and mine. So Rupert's blue coat cavalry are not very disciplined. I need a 1 or a 2 to stay on the battlefield, which I don't. So they're pursuing.
And you pursue. Good.
That's typical of Prince
Oh,
Rupert.
I might kill the king. Maybe. I don't know. Oh, but you have full strength unit coming up. Yeah. So we go to round 2. Do you want to do general retreat?
Do I need to protect the king? You've got 4 units coming in. I'm still the defender. I'm going to risk it, so I'm not going to order general retreat. Yes, there we go. Prince Rupert's running down the peasants. Is killing every last man of your cavalry. And we have Sir Ralph Hopton with some stout Cornish infantry and also some cavalry.
You might have a shot.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know what you had. I did consider general retreat. I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, I think you were right.
So let's. I'm just going to engage with the infantry. I think I'm strong enough to withstand some hits if you fire with yours.
I think I'm gonna fire with. I think I'm gonna fire with 1 and engage with the other. So 3 dice. I need to roll 1s. None. Okay.
Okay, so back to the cavalry. As the defending cavalry, my fresh reinforcements on the battlefield are raring to go with 3 strength. They need 1s or 2s, but they missed.
I roll 3 dice on 1 or 2s, and they also miss.
Okay. So nothing else happening with the new cavalry on each side. So engaging infantry, me first as the defender. Let's roll for Hopton and his Cornish pikemen, 4 strength. They have inflicted 3 hits.
Ooh, that's brutal. 1, 2, 3.
The king block with 1 strength is another hit.
Oh, he's dead too.
And the Cheshire infantry with 1 strength is a final hit.
Oh god!
What a remarkable performance from the Royalists this time. So I think they learned their lesson.
Yeah, they definitely
previous
did.
battle.
Now we're on 3. Your units go back to firing. I will not order a general retreat. I think it's the end anyway, so they will just charge until the end.
Okay, so my infantry is going to engage. They're going to actually engage your cavalry while they're busy fighting my cavalry. Will they? Maybe I should fire. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can. Yeah, as I say.
Change my mind. I'll fire.
You can tenderize the meat before.
Yes, beforehand. Yeah. So the Cornish 4 blocks, they'll hit on 1 for strength. They hit on 1s or 2s. That's 1 hit.
Oh, that's really bad.
The King's block is another hit.
Oh,
final block is another hit.
Yeah. Everyone is dead. Okay.
Yeah, so the musketeers just massacre your remaining cavalry.
Oh god, that's extremely sad. And that's the end of that battle. Does it mean that what do I do with the artillery? Does it flee with the?
Because you've got no troops at all. You had no troops left. Is that correct on the battlefield?
Yeah, I had two. I had two routed cavalry, so they were out of the battlefield.
So if you've got no troops at all who participate in the general retreat, then you lose all of the artillery, and so you lose the block. And I gain a strength. So I maybe spike some of the guns, some are damaged, but I recover some of them, and I can gain a. If you eliminate a block, I gain 1 strength.
Yep. So this one gets eliminated here. Oh, well, that was devastating. I don't know why I didn't expect those troops to be way stronger than what they were, but and actually my routine cavalry, what do they become?
So they can retreat to an adjacent area. In fact, you retreat to the area they came from, which is just east, as you were the attacker in this battle.
Good. I'm gonna stack everything. And I lost my 2 commanders, which means that I can have very limited movements now. So it's a bit finished. But I guess we can finish the turn. So it was the tactical phase. Oh, you can actually still do a storm in Newcastle.
Yes, which is my intention. So let me just. I could regroup with some of my blocks, but I think I'll stay there. And no, I will regroup 1 into Devon just to help with the siege there. And Newcastle, I will storm. So I have no artillery. I can't bombard the walls.
Yeah, and I have only 1 infantry, so I'm not even sure we need the. Maybe we need the battlements.
Yeah, with the physical game, you could resolve it without using the battle mats, but it's just useful to separate the blocks out using on the vessel module. So yes, you are not very strong.
No, not really. I will engage and die.
Okay, so I'm going to try and fire. I've got so few troops. Fire with these elite infantry. So 3 strength with the first block is 2 half hits.
And he's dead.
Yeah. So I retake Newcastle. It was an annoyance.
And that's 1 extra VP. So we'll go back to +1.
Yeah. Hide reveal. Okay. So that's the end of the tactical phase. We have the supply phase.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you have no issues with supply.
Yes. Yeah, you redeployed in the south, and I really don't have any problems with supply. So I'm really good with supplies right now. So that's good. And then we still have 1 siege resolution to do in Plymouth.
Yes, in Plymouth.
So I'm going to bring the player aid so people can follow what's happening here in the siege.
So it's the second round, second turn of the siege. So
5 and 6 could, yeah.
It's a 6. So yes. You take a loss of a strength and then you surrender. So you surrender the city, but any troops you've got left are allowed to leave through honors of war. It was a friendly award in the 30 Years' War, so Your garrison can move to any adjacent empty or friendly region, so they can go east.
Yeah.
Plymouth is captured. And that's another victory point for me, for the Royalists.
And I think that's the that's the end of the supply phase. And I think we're 2 hours and 30 minutes in that I will concede, Scott. I will concede for that game. But I think it gave a good overview of how the game works and everything. And but that was quite great. So I think the physical game actually plays faster. Just who would be wondering. We talked about also to explain what we're doing and everything. But of course it would play a lot faster on a physical copy. And some battles we actually brought up the battle mat and everything, which you don't necessarily always have to do for the smaller battles when you're playing the physical copy. So just for context, I think in 2 hours and a half we will have definitely finished the early game scenario, even if we play through the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Great, but that was awesome. Thank you, Scott. And so, what are your thoughts? Are you proud of yourself?
There were some moments there where I was a little bit concerned after the first large battle. But I think because it was a sort of demonstration game, I was playing a little bit less conservatively than I normally would. I'd normally take slightly fewer risks, and I guess for you too, you were playing a bit more aggressively. As the Parliamentarians, you can attack, but you need to be a bit more careful in the early part of the war.
Yeah, I think my second attack was foolish. I forgot to consider that you had some troops in the south that could reinforce and actually defend, so that was a bad idea. And I think the card that you play that gave you also 2 extra reinforcement at the beginning was also pretty cool. So no, but it was extremely fun. Thanks for coming to the show and for the teach and play. I hope that you had fun, and I think it would be come back whenever you want. We could play another game. So I guess that if you want to play another game, that would be nice. We're going to try to do some live streams of teach and plays throughout the summer. So I have a few guests and everything, but it would be cool to have you come over for another game.
I've seen you have a good schedule of teach and plays coming up. I think I know some of the games already, but I'll definitely watch those, and I'll be happy to come back to for another play of this.
Yes, I think I would probably invite you during the summer for my revenge. So I will take the Parliament again, and we can play maybe this time with less explanation, so we could go faster and try to go through it again. But it was really cool. So thanks for the ones that joined tonight. It was fun to have everyone. I didn't get a lot of advice from my committee, so a bit disappointed on this. But
less advice, but there were plenty of thematic comments. I think more support for the Royalists.
Yes, overall, which was quite fun. So thanks everyone for joining. And next Monday it's not gonna be a playthrough. It's gonna be a bit of a special show on a thematic around CDGs. I won't say much more. I will keep the surprise, and I will start announcing some of the stuff during the week before we get to the next Monday session. But expect something pretty cool with a few really great guests. So I think it's gonna be a fun one. But I'll keep you everyone posted on Twitter mostly. So if you follow me there, so you follow Fred Serval on Twitter, you should be able to have a lot of updates, and you will get to a few teasers what's going to be next week's live show. But thanks again, Scott, for joining tonight.
Thank you.
And talk to you soon. And goodbye, everyone, and see you next Monday. Bye-bye.
Bye.